What's up, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer from blueandgold.com. It is Friday, July 2nd, and we have plenty to talk about. It is an extremely busy time in this world of Notre Dame football recruiting. Before we dive into today's video, just want to let you guys know if you like what you see in this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube page for more Notre Dame football and recruiting coverage. Notre Dame had 9 official visitors during the weekend of June 25th, and none was bigger, literally and figuratively, than Zach Rice, a 5-star prospect from Lynchburg, Virginia, Liberty Christian Academy. Rivals ranks Rice as the number 19 player in the country, number 4 offensive tackle. Notre Dame has kind of been thought of for a while, including myself, running maybe 4th or 5th in this recruitment with North Carolina, Virginia, Alabama up at the top, and Notre Dame and Ohio State maybe being 4th and 5th. In his recruitment, those schools of course being his top 5, but Rice, and conversations with him and conversations with sources around this recruitment, conversations with his mom Mary, this visit could only have been better if it ended in a verbal commitment. Notre Dame absolutely hit this one out of the park. Here's what Rice told Rivals.com analyst Adam Friedman, and you can find this full story at blueandgold.com. On his Notre Dame visit, Rice said it went really well. I would say their tradition and Coach Quinn were the biggest highlights for me. Coach Quinn is the best. He's so genuine. In my opinion, I think he developed me out of all the other coaches. That's got to be a really good quote to hear if you're a Notre Dame fan, that, look, all these kids want to go play in the NFL. That is certainly the goal for Rice as well. So that Notre Dame offensive line tradition and what Jeff Quinn, offensive line coach for the Fighting Irish, can do for Rice was a big deal to him. And you can see Rice pictured in a Notre Dame jersey, padded up. In my opinion, doesn't look too bad. Notre Dame fans, what do you think about Zach Rice and how he looks right there? I mean, honestly, it seems like he's ready to play college ball right now. If you're going to ask me where he's leaning, I still would say North Carolina. But guys, Notre Dame felt like a long shot in this recruitment. But to be honest with you, with how things are trending and where things stand right now, I would not be surprised to see Zach Rice end up at Notre Dame. The other monster visitor for Notre Dame this past weekend, CJ Williams from Modern Day in Southern California, 4-star receiver just on the cusp of 5-star status, number 29 player in the country, number 3 receiver in all of America. Notre Dame has been recruiting this elite prospect for such a long time. He had not been able to get on campus during the pandemic for self-guided tour. He was going to visit April of 2020 until the dead period wiped out that visit. So this was his first time getting to meet Dell Alexander and Tommy Rees and Brian Kelly. And in my conversation with him following the visit, and again talking to various sources, I feel like this one went really well. And look, guys, how often do you hear, oh, this visit didn't go well? Not very often, but that still doesn't negate the fact that this visit for Notre Dame did go really well. Here's a quote from CJ Williams, a longer one, but I felt like it was really important to read. This is regarding his fit in Notre Dame's offense. They see me playing all over. Slot is something they've been mentioning to me recently. They think I could be a very good slot for years to come, and I think my game fits that perfectly. I'm 6'2", which is big for a slot guy, but I'm strong and I'm a technician as a route runner, so I can get open. Whenever the defense rolls a linebacker or safety over me, it's a mismatch. I definitely see that comparison and have interest in slot for sure. And when he said I see that comparison, the other part of the quote from Williams was that Tommy Rees has, or when they were meeting, Tommy Rees showed Williams some of Keenan Allen's film, who's a veteran receiver with the Los Angeles Chargers, who is a versatile guy, and he's 6'2" and plays out in the slot a good bit. So I think CJ Williams really liked that pitch. And you see him here pictured in a Notre Dame jersey from his official visit. These recruits always love the photo shoot. And CJ Williams Again, I think he looks good in blue and gold as well, but where his recruitment ends up, we will just have to see. He's going to announce a top group here pretty soon. He took 4 visits in June: USC, Stanford, Texas, and Notre Dame. I would say those 4 schools of his 50 offers have a pretty good shot of making his top group. So what's next at receiver recruiting? Well, definitely CJ Williams is an extremely important target for Notre Dame. Nicholas Anderson was a huge target for the Fighting Irish. He visited that weekend of June 18th. I put in a future cast pick in for the Irish to land him. I thought he was a near lock to end up at Notre Dame, but he pulled a surprise on Thursday by committing to Oregon, the school that he officially visited the weekend of June 25th. I've seen Notre Dame fans discrediting Anderson because he was a 3-star recruit, but he was a huge target for Notre Dame. Like, this is a loss for the Irish. Dell Alexander and Tommy Rees and that staff really wanted Anderson in this class. So with Anderson to Oregon, that makes not only CJ Williams even more of an important target for Notre Dame, but it increases just how badly Notre Dame needs Myles Merriweather in its class. This is a 4-star receiver from Washington, number 155 overall player in the country, number 21 pass catcher in the land. Merriweather took 2 official visits in June, one to Notre Dame and another to Stanford. Not sure of his timeline. I don't think he has a date or really a concrete plan of what he wants to do, but I do feel like Notre Dame is in the lead here, just like I think Notre Dame's in the lead for CJ Williams. But hey, I also thought they're in the lead for Nicholas Anderson. So recruiting, guys, it is just not over until come National Signing Day, when those prospects can sign. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with Notre Dame at the receiver spot. As we've talked about so many times, there's a dead period in effect for 15 months because of the pandemic. Well, when the NCAA lifted it on June 1st, it basically said the recruiting calendar is going back to normal. So that meant June 27th was the last day of the June recruiting period. June 28th, it went back dead. Most of July is dead as well. And then the last week of July, unofficial visits can happen again. So the last day that recruits could take visits in June, Dante Moore from Detroit, Martin Luther King, took a trip to Notre Dame. He's the number 30 overall player in the country. Notre Dame offered Moore back on March 17th during that Pot of Gold initiative. Moore and Louisiana quarterback Arch Manning became Notre Dame's first 2 scholarship quarterback offers in this 2023 class. They've also offered Malachi Nelson, but of this trio, it seems like Moore is Notre Dame's best shot at one of these elite quarterbacks. Moore was offered by Michigan back in the 7th grade, so he has a long-standing relationship with the Wolverines. But it's definitely encouraging that Moore took a visit to Notre Dame just this past weekend. He really seemed to click with Notre Dame offensive coordinator Tommy Rees, and here is what this 4-star player said about Notre Dame's offensive coordinator. Coach Rees is great. Overall, he knows the game of football and shows lots of care in what he does. I really appreciate it, and it shows. But he's very cool to hang around, and he always has some jokes. Moore, who has the best hair of the 2023 class. Again, you have to be encouraged if you're a Notre Dame fan that Moore made a visit out to Notre Dame. But there's still much more work that the staff has to do to land this player. And of course, we got to end this video talking about Nicholas Singleton, the 4-star running back from Pennsylvania, who has really been the main topic of discussion when it comes to Notre Dame football recruiting in the past week, with predictions going in for him to land at Notre Dame, just for those to flip back to Penn State. For me, personally, I have been in the same boat, really the past month. I think that Singleton has been leaning Penn State. The Notre Dame visit June 18th went really, really well. I think he nearly even committed while he was on campus. But being close doesn't matter in recruiting. You have to close the deal. Singleton really wanted to go back home and think about things, and then he quickly, after going home after his Notre Dame visit, went out to Texas A&M and then Alabama. Well, he's announcing his commitment on Tuesday, July 6th. It will be Notre Dame or Penn State. I'm sure he'll have 5 hats on the table, but again, he's really down to the Nittany Lions and Fighting Irish. Right now, I believe Singleton is leaning towards Penn State, but as long as Notre Dame has a pulse in this recruitment leading up to Tuesday, I expect them to fight and claw. That's it for this video. Make sure you hit the thumbs up if you liked what you saw, and subscribe to our YouTube channel here at Blue and Gold if you want more content. We appreciate you guys, and have a happy and safe 4th of July weekend.